Welcome back to another edition of Rapid Fire with me, your host, Wolvie. This is episode 16, and we have got with us today the Sultan of Swing, the Deployment Zone regular, and Sir Samathy himself, Sam, or the Sultan from Deployment Zone. How you doing, my man?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
I cannot complain whatsoever. That's a typical British saying, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Things could always be worse, you know?
Yeah, it's either that or living the dream, which is when you start worrying about someone.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, living or chasing the dream is a popular one. I'm not sure you are, but
a bit concerned about you now, mate.
It's a typical British thing.
Very much so.
As we just discussed off camera, you are a virgin to us. So the Rapid Fire Challenge is entirely new to you, whereas a lot of people have come in practiced. So this is going to be interesting. Like I say, our quickest at this time is 53 seconds. Our slowest is 3 minutes and 42.
All right.
I know what you're trying to chase. You're going to try and beat Quipster.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm hoping he's the 3 minutes 42 because he's a talker.
No, unfortunately not. He was 1 minute 13. So he was actually, he actually managed
pretty good. That's pretty good for Alex, yeah.
The episode was the longest episode, but that bit he managed to keep very short.
Oh, okay. Well, no pressure then. Wow.
So for any of you that are watching that haven't seen this before, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to give Sultan 15 questions, and he's got to answer them as quickly as he humanly can. And I'll time it on, a professional device, and we'll see how he figures in the leaderboard, which will be shown at the end of the episode.
Very exciting.
If you're ready to go,
as ready as I'm going to be. I've got no prep. I think this is as best as I can be.
Fantastic. So your time starts now. How many years have you been in the hobby?
4 years.
What game systems do you follow?
40k.
What are your current armies?
I've got Imperial Night, Adeptus Mechanicus, Imperial Guard, 4 Space Marine armies, Grey Knights, Death Watch, Blood Angels, and my own chapter. I've got Sisters of Battle and Tau.
What was your first ever miniature?
First ever miniature was a Blood Angels Dreadnought.
Your first army?
First army was some old tactical Blood Angels.
What's the model or unit you've enjoyed painting the most?
Imperial Knights.
What's the model or unit you've enjoyed painting the least?
Tau in the General Imagination style.
What was the last model you completed?
I completed I can't say what it is because it's for another podcast, but it was some Death Watch.
Okay. How much hobby time do you get per week?
2 or 3 hours.
What is the current model you're working on?
Working on a Death Watch, not Librarian, Leviathan Dreadnought.
What's your single favorite thing about the hobby?
The community.
And what's your least favorite thing about the hobby?
Also the community. Sometimes it's very toxic.
Who or what got you into the hobby?
Winter's SEO.
What keeps you in the hobby?
Well, it's not Winter's SEO. it's again the community.
What is your one hobby target for this year?
One hobby target for this year is to get to 3,000 points of Death Watch.
That's it. That's the 15 questions.
Sweet.
How quick do you think you were, roughly?
A minute 10.
You're a little bit slower than that. You were 1 minute 27 seconds.
That's not too bad.
Which there's no shame in that whatsoever. I'm just going to note it
stop
down.
make jokes.
Like I say, that puts you slap bang essentially in the middle of the leaderboard, which there's no
that
shame.
Describes my life. Just dead average, aggressively average. That's my life. There we go. That's where I am.
But I think with the amount of armies you had to list there, I think that's a that's a good thing. So you mentioned in there obviously that Winters is responsible for getting you into the hobby.
Yeah.
How did he, draw you in?
Well, I remember knowing about Warhammer as a kid. And I think everyone has this kind of story where they kind of dabble with it. They're not really in the hobby as such, but they muck around. You see maybe their mates playing with some Space Marines or what have you. And I remember I was actually deploying to the Falklands about 4 years ago, and beforehand my flight got delayed 24 hours. So I was just sat there minding my own business, and I was just going through YouTube as you do, and then I saw Warhammer 40k 8th edition battle report, and I was like, oh, I'll have a look at this. And it was Winter's SEO playing, I think it was playing, say, Hypal against his Orcs or something like that. No, it was against Say Hypal's word bearers with the Grey Knights and the 13th fighting them. And I was watching this, like, this looks great. These miniatures look awesome and stuff. And then when I came back from the Falklands 4 months later, it'd been on my mind the entire time. I picked up a box of, at the time, it was Primaris Intercessors. And I was like, what happened to Tactical Marines? What's going on? But I picked up some Intercessors and then painted them up. I was like, this is amazing. And I was just hooked since. And just kept watching Winters. And yeah, he kept introducing me to more things through the medium of YouTube.
That's really cool. So obviously your Blood Angels, I'm just going to go there, they are a beautiful army. You've nailed this painting, Lark. So just to kind of recap on the, your 2020 as such, I know we're now coming up to halfway through 2021, but your painting achievement was, and I'll list, 8,500 points of Blood Angels, 4,000 points of Imperial Guard, 1,750 of AdMech, 700 points of Grey Knights, 600 of Sisters, and a nominal amount of Death Watch, and I believe 1 Inquisitor.
Yeah,
that's a lot of painting. How do you decide what on earth you're going to do next when you've got so many armies on the go?
So it's a little bit odd for me. It's now evolved. My hobby has evolved to the point where I have to consider filming. So what I do is I often go for a unit or an army that we don't see often, or something that gives me a bit of variety. So the reason I have so many Blood Angels, as well as loving them, was because I was, throughout lockdown, playing Winters every week. Yeah. And if I only had 1 or 2 armies, the content would be very stale, wouldn't it? You just see the same army every time. So I was very conscious that I wanted to bump those numbers, because they were rookie numbers. So I wanted
rookie numbers. You've got to
yeah. So yeah, push them up from the 1 army I had to X amount. And yeah, it was just like, right, okay, Blood Angels, what are the Blood Angel specific units? And it turns out points wise, they're very expensive. Like a Librarian Dreadnought's 160 points, roundabouts there. So yeah, I when you factor that in, I haven't actually painted too much. But yeah, I was just thinking about bringing special units that we haven't necessarily seen before, and just bringing a good variety. So now throughout 2020, it was all just like increasing the armies I had, so people got to know them and I got to know them, so I could play them convincingly, rather than being the dude who turns up with an army who has no idea what's going on, which I still do a lot.
I was going to say that sounds very familiar.
No, it's fair. It's fine in normal life. I have no problem with that. But then when you're filming it and you put it on YouTube, you just get the in the background. So I was like, I have to kind of know these armies. But now, as we push to sort of early 2021 and so on, now I know the armies. It's more about just getting some variety on the channel, stuff we haven't seen, and creating a good narrative to help Winters out.
So how is your painting going in terms of 2021? Have you managed to up the rookie numbers of last year so far?
I'm getting there. So I'm doing, for anyone who watches DeploymentZone TV, on the premium service that Liam and Winters has.
And why wouldn't you?
Thank you. Yes. Why wouldn't you? Because I want it. I wouldn't watch it. Yeah. We're doing something. A couple of regulars, myself, Rapscallion, Stylus, and Monkey, all absolute legends. We're doing a series called The Hobby Apocalypse, which is an awful name, but I love it.
But
and we're doing. It is very unique. It's like when we say Hobby Apocalypse, you can't mean anything else. So we're doing 6 months of 250 points a month. And for me, I'm doing the Death Watch for that. So I'm doing 250 points a month. The Leviathan is kind of extra credit because I get itchy waiting. Yeah. So I was doing that separate. But yeah, that's the kind of, I'm pushing up very slowly with them. So my challenge there was, rather than do an army as quickly as possible, do an army as well as possible. So for me, it's like massively converting the Death Watch to look like individuals, painting them up for a really long time, trying to do like quips the levels of painting because it takes them ages. So that's kind of rather than going for numbers, I was going for quality.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, in the background, I've got, other stuff going on. I've got Imperial Knights, which I've got one here. Hold on. Now, I don't know how else it's going to come through the camera, but he's super dirty and grimy and horrible. And
As
he takes half an hour.
If it's dirty and grimy, I'm all about that life.
Yeah, but yeah, he's Imperial Knight. But anyone who knows my AdMech, they're not nice people, so they're not quite what you'd expect. But yeah, I just buy these off of eBay, ready built, maybe already painted, and paint over them. Yeah, because that fits in with the lore of my AdMech. So it means I can knock out, if I wanted to, knock out a 7,000 Imperial Knight army, 7,000 point Imperial Knight army in maybe a week. Yeah. If I really want to, because this takes half hour, 45 minutes just to dab paint on and make it look horrible. And annoyingly, it gets the most likes on Instagram. I'm like, God, it took me half an hour.
the least work. Interestingly, on my personal page, I think my most liked thing is my Nurgle Knight. People love knights. I don't know what
knights,
it is.
Yeah,
I made
and
a
they love
Chaos Knight, and the people went mad for it. So
they love grimdark. It's
the most disgusting, the better. On the subject of your AdMech, though, I mean, firstly, love the green. You don't really see, obviously many, I suppose, like green AdMech. Most people tend to stick around, they work hard on the metallics and they put a red or a purple and they use like a deep color along that spectrum. You occasionally see like a dark blue, those sort of things. You went slightly different. And I mean, I don't know if it is Death Guard green, but it looks like Death Guard green.
It's Xandri Dust and Yushabti Bone. But then because I have all the green lenses that I do like a really quick and dirty OSL effect around the lenses and stuff. And it makes the whole miniature look green. Just have a happy accident at the end. And some Athonian cabo shade as well to make them look dirty. So it's like the slight green tinges in this bone color.
And I think the whole effect is fantastic because again, it's one of those armies that looks unique. And I know that's what you've gone for as part of the obviously having the variety for for the channel, which is great because you look at other companies that do similar things. You look at Tabletop Tactics, they've got everything. You look at Tabletop Titans, they've got everything. SN Battle Reports, all these different, they've got everything available to them. And I think that's one of those things that I don't know if people consider when they start thinking about, I'm going to do this channel. You've got to have the variety of armies available to you. Otherwise people are going to get bored watching Orcs versus Space Marines. They're just going to get bored of it. So I think
that's where Winters has got it nailed. So
and and I think that is something really good in terms of how he's makes I suppose good use of regulars. Obviously he's got himself and Liam, and obviously he's got the regulars, and then even then he's got like an inner circle of regulars, and then an even slightly more outer circle of regulars. He's very, very clever at making things feel different, and the way I've got to say for it, the way he sets up the board
it's brilliant.
Is almost second to none. The last one I watched was obviously Quipster versus
and
you set the board up with actual barricades and the whole thing just looked, I was like, this looks like the Orcs are going to try and surge on an Imperial Fist fortress. And what's it like then? What's it like filming with him?
So when I first went, it wasn't what I expected, because he's actually, obviously you've got his personality on camera, but in real life he's actually when you first meet him anyway, he's a bit reserved, a bit quiet. And I was like, oh, okay. I wasn't really expecting that. But as you get to know him, and I've played him for 40, 50 games now, is mad. He's absolutely insane. He's brilliant. It's as so recently we've been filming the Sunstrike campaign for Deployment Zone with my Tau against his Orcs, which I love his Orcs. They're amazing. And we were filming all that, and it's just really easy. It's like, slipping on a glove. We just go in, right, cool, let's go. Set up the table, do this, do that, help each other. I help him set up the tables now when we do our campaign, because I know how he wants to set it up. And I know his little tips and tricks, which are really cool. And it's how he gets such good tables. He's genius when it comes to that. But really easy. But when we first started, it was very much, it's a little bit odd to see behind the veil, if you like, of how he films, and that it's, it takes a couple of takes. Sometimes you have to spike a few results, because if it's going to be a walkover in turn 1 or 2, that's not good content. So it's interesting seeing that behind that curtain. I won't say which games have done that, because that would ruin it, and also can't remember. But just every now and again it'll be like, right, this knight's been killed. Oh, that's a shame. Rolls a dice, it blows up and kills everything. He'll go, right, that's the end of the game in turn 1. Let's reset that and make sure it doesn't blow up, and so on. We'll figure that stuff out. But it's just, for most people going to play him, I think it'd just be prepared for things to have to change behind, or reshoots and things, because we've done it before where we've shot something and he's gone, I don't like the way I said that, and it's taken 10 minutes to get to that point, and it'll just reset and it'll take another 10 minutes. So it's just a lot of stopping and starting.
And I think for people who obviously play a game straight through, that sort of stuff is going to be somewhat alien, because there's going to be a lot of stop start, right, just wait a second whilst I get the perfect angle for this, or whilst that sort of stuff is thing. So how much of it does he film just on a phone?
All of it.
And I found that when Quipster told me this, I was like, what? Like,
Yeah.
he's found the magic formula. Everybody
Yeah.
else has upgraded their tech. They've got cameras. They've got those ones that you put over your shoulder. Everyone's mic'd up and everything. Do
Yeah.
you need all that? No. Use the
No.
money for models, great tables, and all the good stuff like that.
Exactly.
Because he still has got the amount of followers using just one of these. And
Yeah.
I found that to be absolutely fascinating.
Yeah. The only concession he has made in the last couple of weeks, and it's only halfway through the Sunstrike campaign, so literally like 2 weeks ago that he did this, but he's upgraded to, instead of shooting in HD, shooting in UHD on his phone.
Yeah,
that's it. That's the only concession, because well, everyone's getting better kit, so I use UHD. It only means that I can't store more than one battle report on my phone.
Yeah.
And then he just uploads it to his computer, cuts it together, sends it out. So yeah, it's a great economy of effort. Liam hates it. Liam's like, get a better camera, and Winter's like, no, it works, and it means I don't have to do too much. Because that's the big part of this. When you're doing 2 battle reports a week and he has to cut them and edit them and send them out, it's a lot of effort to use all the proper lighting rigs and hook up a big camera and everything like that, and hook up microphones to people. That's time you could be using setting up the table or editing or painting more miniatures to look great on the table. So that's his personal philosophy, and to be fair, I personally agree with it.
And I think it makes it's one of those things where obviously a lot of people look at it and go, to get to a tabletop tactics, tabletop Titan sort of standard where they've got the setup, they've got usually a third man somewhere off to the side or whatever, possibly using the camera. A lot of people go, how do I ever start with that? Whereas if you then go and watch a Winter's battle report, you then kind of go, well, he's just filming this on a phone. I could start doing this, and if I can find my niche on my character and I can get that across on the thing, I can do this. And it kind of, I don't want to say it gives hope, but it sort of gives people that opportunity to say, well, he's got tens of thousands of followers. I mean, we in this hobby, if you're chasing followers, there's only a finite amount. You're not going to find any account with millions of followers. It just doesn't happen. I think it maxes out at about 200,000. And I think that's even the top channels.
Yeah, Mini Wargaming has got 360. I think, and they're the top. So,
I was going to say, and they're obviously they've got the bunker and everything. They've done, they're
the big one.
They basically started the thing almost, but and that's where it maxes out. So you've got to try and make the most of the I say small numbers. They're still big numbers, but the smaller numbers that you would get compared to being, I guess, not an influencer, because I hate that phrase and I hate influencers.
Hate what it puts in your head,
But you're a wargaming influencer. You're playing the game. You're showing people what the game is. You are just, if somebody can't play a game that week, sometimes watching a game can fill that void, or background for painting. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, he's brilliant at that. He's very much. I think we say giving hope. It's inspiration, isn't it? It's like, oh, this guy does this well. The thing about Winters, it's not the tech he uses. It's not the even the models on the table. It's the narrative in his head and how he spins it. And I think that's what drew me to him. He was telling, even though we were playing a match play game with somebody, he's playing a 2,000 point match play game in 8th edition back when, and he just spin a story around it and make sure that, like, okay, well, they've drawn this card in Maelstrom to go and take this objective. Here's why. High Command want this. There's something here, blah, blah. And he'd spin the story around it, and it just made it so much more engrossing. Because for me, the narrative side, the Black Library side, and why the actual universe is more important than trying to get 3 inches of an objective. And
and there's points in those battle reports that I find myself being transported back to playing in Games Workshop stores when I was a teenager or whatever. Because a missile will miss, and most people just go, oh yeah, that's a miss, and move on. But he does it sometimes. He goes, and this has gone over here, and you can just imagine, and he just makes a little story out of a missed missile. It takes 3 or 4 seconds for him to just come up with something, off the cuff.
It's absolutely brilliant.
It just adds to it.
We were doing one yesterday where he had I won't spoil anything what happened actually in the battle report, but he had a Gorkanaut on the table. And I had a big Tau battle suit. It was the fast attack one from Forge World, sat on the side. Yeah. And he's like, I'm going to fire the rockets at that. And it turned around, he fires it. And I'm not sure if we kept this bit in, but basically it completely whiffed. And it just he was like, and the missile goes all over the place and hits this guy. He just picks up a random orc knob and just takes him off the table. It's like, and it kills this guy. It's like, that had nothing to do with it. But I love that he does stuff like that. Or like you say, oh yeah, these orcs failed their charge, get really angry, turn around, and start shooting at their mates, and so on. And he'll just happily just like get involved because it's a narrative game. He just gets involved, makes the orcs start shooting and hitting each other and stuff. So yeah, he's brilliant with stuff like that.
Yeah, and so discussing Tau, then obviously you've used them yesterday. Their standing in 40k hasn't been so good, really.
Not for
They're
Knights,
kind
no,
of
yeah,
somewhere down the bottom alongside the Gene Stealer cult.
yeah.
What do you think needs doing? Because they are not a 9th edition compatible army in any way, shape, or form. They've got one phase, and it's the shooting phase.
Yeah, Overwatch doesn't really help them. So yeah, so firstly, I'd like casually, if you're playing casual games against someone who's also playing casually, you're just beer and Warhammer, or a narrative game, they hold up fairly well. They're a mid-tier army. They're probably, if you went to complete max them out, with triple Riptides and everything like that, you'd still probably only playing at 50% power of any other army, especially something like Death Guard. You'd be playing at 50% power and you still get walked over. And the one time I played Death Guard, or 2 times I played Death Guard with Tau, I got stomped. So unfortunately, that's the way it is. Even when Winters was bringing fluffy, nice lists of Death Guard, I was still getting stomped because they're so resilient compared to what Tau can put out. But what I think needs to change for them, that everyone always says, better ballistic skill. Sure. I don't understand why the shootiest Xenos army has worse ballistic skill than Sisters of Battle and Admech, but I understand why they might not want to do that because their guns are so good when they hit and wound. But what I think they'd need is first maybe an overhaul of the Markerlight system, just because you see, not so much myself, but I see a lot of Tau players starting stressing about Markerlights. If they don't hit, like, oh crap, I can't do rerolls ones, I'm going to miss, and so on, because you're hitting on 4s, you're going to struggle. So maybe a revamp of the Markerlight system, where maybe if you attach a drone to a unit, you get some kind of bonus to your shots or something. That combat doctrine is a bonus to AP. Something like that. The drone's attached, it helps you that you get better AP if you do hit, so on, things like that. Make it simple, make it easy. And the other thing would be for the battlesuit keyword to involve something like either shoot into combat or fall back and shoot.
Which
one of the two.
Which I think it possibly, looking at what they've done with things like Knights, and I get that a lot of the Knights and stuff are obviously still working on the old codexes, but they have got the fall back. They've got the ability now to shoot into combat and stuff like that. So those sorts of things, especially things like Riptides, you have that, just all these guns just in someone's face, like something that makes them a more scary prospect in combat. Now, they've been such a joke for so long. You don't want Tau to be good in combat. You just don't. There's a little bit, but
only maybe Farsight Enclaves. I'd be happy for the Farsight Enclaves to be a bit punchier. I'd be fine with that. But anyone else,
you definitely need some more like almost like fire and fade sort of rules and
move, shoot, move. Yeah,
I'd like a CP strat or something like that to sit, where if somebody goes to roll their charge, you can play a strat, and on a 4, 5, 6, you move back D6 inches, and it just so that gives the Tau the chance to move back a little bit, because that's what they would do if something was coming towards them. Tau would go, well, I'm not going to start slapping a Space Marine, so
it's like that thing's going to tear me apart. I've seen it do it. But there's a great warlord, no, not warlord trait, a relic for a warlord that I've used a couple of times on my Cold Star commander, and it's vectored maneuvering thrusters, but unfortunately you have to be Tau Sept to use it. But I was playing with it and I was like, this is what I envisaged Tau to be. He can advance. If he advances, he moves an auto 20, so he moves 20 inches normally, then an extra 20 if he advances. Because of the Sept trait I was using, I think he didn't have to get penalties for advancing. But 4 Fusion Commander moves 40 inches, then he'd shoot, and then as soon as he's shot, he can move 6 inches. So he can move right into something's face, blast it in max range, and then jump back out of charge range. And I absolutely love that, because to me, that's what Tau do. They move in, they engage, they jump back out, because they like preserving life. They're, like a modern military almost. So it'd be nice to see, as you said, a CP where they can either move, shoot, move, or as someone charged them on a 4, 5, 6, you can jump back 6 inches, or even 3 inches, just to make the charge harder.
Yeah, just like I say, it'd be just a little thing. I think D6. I think everybody loves a bit of chance where they might move back 1 inch before the enemy fires, or they might manage to get 6 inches back, and so
it's sort of the panic, like hit the thrusters, jump back kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
And so those are the sorts of things that I would want to see, because like most people, I want to see things more balanced in terms of, because every game I want to play, I don't want to know like the result before going in, which you do get most of the time. You kind of know, Well, I've got Death Guard at the moment, so and I'm bringing them against Tau.
Yeah, it's kind of or bringing Blood Angels against Tyranids is just always brutal. Tyranids are another one a bit like Tau, where Tyranids need I don't think they need anything changing in terms of like their units and how they work, but they just need a massive point drop in everything they have. So I think perhaps Scallion for Hobby Apocalypse did 1 month where he did 250 points. I think he did a Broodlord, and it was like 5 Gene Stealers. That was 250 points. And it's like, Gene Stealers should not be that expensive. No. They should be like, I think they're like 20 points each or something silly, which is the same as like an Intercessor. They should be far less than that. You should be able to like have 2 for each Intercessor or something.
Yeah, they should feel like that Horde army that's coming across the board.
Yeah.
And a bit of you's like, I really don't want them to come at me. Shit.
Yeah.
So you kind of do want more of them. I don't think much else, like you say, much else needs to change with the Tyranids, except for on the board, there does need to be more of them to feel like that. You know, they're supposed to be that threat, that the biggest threat to the galaxy as such, because they're just ripping through everything and eating it. You kind of want to feel like that, as like Death Guard, as they slowly trudge up the table.
Yeah.
My opponent, when I'm playing Death, slowly thinks more and more, shit.
Those Blight Lord Terminators are getting closer.
Exactly. And you kind of want Tyranids to have that same effect. Like they're coming closer, like, once they get in, there's just going to be so many of them. It's going to be hard to punch them off.
It shouldn't be that my my 6 Blade Guard vets just take on the world and smash through Tyranids. It's like, because you're looking at it, and I played a game with Winters, and he brought essentially what was a 2,000 point game, and it was on YouTube. I brought a Thunderhawk, and it was great fun. It was an excuse to bring the Thunderhawk, but I brought it's 800 points, but 1,200 points of regular Marines, and it was a couple of Vanguard vets, some Blade Guard vets, things like that, choppy units, because I thought, Thunderhawk's got all the guns, let's bring some chop. And also you're playing Blood Angels, so you have to bring chop. And I went in, and he had 2,000 points on the table. And what we did is he had 2,000 points on the table and 1,000 or 1,500 points, or even potentially another 2,000 points in reserve. It was like a Broodlord and like 16 Gene Stealers and some Trigons and stuff. And it was the Blood Angels. Spoiler for anyone who hasn't watched it, sorry. The Blood Angels still won. They went in, they killed the 2,000 points that was on the table, and then made a fighting retreat back. And I still ended up with like a Lieutenant, a couple of Blade Guard, and the Thunderhawk. And it was absolutely mad. And there was still a lot of Gene Stealers left. And if it had gone on to like turn 6, 7, whatever, like it used to, I probably would have been in trouble. But in a 5-turn game, I still won. And I was like, that's absolutely nuts that not even a competitive list, because it's got a Thunderhawk in it, can go in, just stuff I wanted to bring, and annihilate a pretty punchy Tyranid list. And
that's what's problematic. And the pandemic hasn't helped, I know, obviously, with GW's release schedules and stuff like that, but it's feeling like, it felt at first like this edition was going to get moving quick, like they were doing 2 codexes a month almost. And I was like, bloody hell, everything's going to have everything within 6 months to a year, like we're going to. And it's just really slowed down. It's not completely Games Workshop's fault. I know everyone keeps going, digital codexes and this, and I do understand all of that, because let's face it, most of it's already written. Most of it's already written. But at the same time, it's just unfortunate that it's taking a little while to get this edition, and the gap. And they're starting to do the power creep again, which with Drakari, they are fucking terrifying.
Yeah, they're horrible. I got the codex over there, and I started reading it, and I was like, this is disgusting. This is horrible. But at the same time, they're the most sadistic race in 40k, so I'm a bit like, meh.
Yeah, I mean, an 80-point succubus that can basically take on the world is a terrifying. Is a terrifying.
Oh yeah, with an enhanced Teeth of Terror, I think it was, wasn't it? It was like, it's like an extra D3, extra 3 attacks, and you could take on a Space Marine captain and win.
Well, I'm currently working on Jane's R. So I'm hoping that when it's Eldar's turn, that they get some reasonably punchy rules. And
I'm sure they will.
These Phoenix Lords, for me, need to be almost Primarch levels. I'm not saying they need to be at Primarch levels, but they need to be, at least Marnius Calgar levels. They need to be feeling like battle, because she, although she hits hard, she is so squishy.
Glass cannon, And, no, that's fair.
And I think so I'm one of those. Well, I've never actually played a game with them yet, because they're a lockdown army. But They will be getting their debut by the end of the month. So
oh, nice. I bet that's exciting.
And that's why I'm rushing to kind of get her, and I've got some Howling Banshees down there done because they're the last bit for my list. So that'll be a headache when I try and bring those out. Probably be a whooping as well, but
yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll see. Hopefully not, because Eldar are actually still, Eldari, the standard craftworld stuff, still pretty good at the moment.
Yeah, I've looked to Adrian from Tabletop Titans for a lot of how to do that, because he seems to be one of the premier kind of Eldar players out there.
Yeah.
And he's really good at obviously essentially making them move and hit quick so that what's left isn't so bad when it comes back onto him, sort of thing. So I'm trying to learn.
Yeah, those Eldari armies like Drukhari, Craftworld, and Harlequins are very much, and Drukhari are best at the moment, are the trading army. You put a unit forward, they get wiped, so you can hit them with another unit. It's chess, basically, isn't it? It's just, right, I'm going to put this unit of whatever forward, gets killed, then I'll put my Hellions in, shoot them, and then so on. So you move them in and out. And then with Craft Worlds, especially more than normal, the other two, I think, it's the synergies, isn't it? It's you have to have this unit of, is it Howling Banshees are the shooty ones?
No, Howling Banshees are the quick,
the stabby ones. Oh, yeah. So you've got the stabby ones, and then you've got Dire Avengers. That's the other one. So you've got Dire Avengers do the shoot, but they can't do any punch. And you've got the Howling Banshees, you can do the punch, but can't do any shoot.
Yeah.
And then you've got the thing that's almost, tanks that are pretty strong, but not that quick. And then you've got the tanks that are really quick, but not that strong. And you have to basically you'll have to work together, because on their own, they're terrible. But as soon as you have them all together, it's great.
I would still argue that the Wave Serpent is probably still the best troop carrier in the game.
Yeah, I think so. Especially
in terms of that shield that it can just disperse. It's, plus there's this strat to make it do it again.
Nice.
It's supposed to be a once per battle thing, but there's a strat to basically make it do it again. So and they're super quick, especially if you get the dog invading in the background.
Oh, is he just running?
If you they're quick, especially if you add on the it's vectored engines that makes them extra quick.
Yeah.
And like I said, they can disperse, and they're still pretty shooty, and they can drop some stuff out the back that's pretty horrible. I would still argue that as much as Eldar players whinge, we've still got the best troop transport in the game by far. It's far better than a basic Rhino, and it's more, it costs more, but it's worth every bit of it. It's 150 points per one, I think it is, roughly.
Okay, so it's about the same price as when Impulse is 130. So yeah, I'd say that for the gun it's got, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. So what are you planning on, what's left for you to kind of paint this year? What army are you looking at and going, I need to bulk that one out?
For me, the main one in the background is Sisters.
Yep.
I've got the Piety and Pain box set stuff to do, and I've got I managed to pick up a copy off of Warsmith Chris of the old limited edition Sisters kit that came out in 2019. So I managed to get a copy of that. So I got to do those two box sets, and I'm going to probably pick up a squad of those new Celestians with the ones with the shields and the halberds. I'm not sure about the rest of the Sisters releases. I'll have to let my brain tick over on those, but they're definitely the Celestians, because I think they're really cool, and I like the way they work as a bodyguard unit.
I think in terms of gameplay, though, I think you're going to need, and I've forgotten her name, the Golden Terminator sister.
The Golden God. Yeah.
She's literally been put out there now by GW as she's Primarch level.
Yeah.
She should be able to stand toe to toe with the Silent King and stuff like that. So in terms of gameplay, she's going to be good.
Lore wise, it's come on now, she's a sister in a suit. The Silent King is millennia old.
There's a little bit like that, and obviously, where did she come from? You've upgraded this sister and making her out that she's this. Well, they have done the thing of obviously she's like this new High Lord or High Lady, however, and that's great. But there's do some sort of lore which sits in one of your books. Pick somebody out of one of those books that ascends. They seem to have picked somebody who's got no backstory whatsoever.
I'm trying to think of other sisters that would be well known, but to be honest, their lore, because it went quiet for a few years, there's not been much added. It's only really Celestine, other than her. And obviously Celestine, I want Celestine though. She's cool.
Yeah, and obviously it's a lovely model. I don't know how good it is. The Triumph of Saint Catherine is. The way they're carrying that down the stairs, and that's very reminiscent of, and I forget which book it is. I think it's like Plague War. No, I can't remember. I think it might be one of the Dark Imperium books actually.
Yeah.
Where there's a sister in that, and she essentially like saves the day, and that seemed very reminiscent of that. I think she was named something different.
I think I know what you mean. Yeah, I think I've read that one. I can't quite remember what happened, but yeah, I whenever it's sisters, there's always something to do with sacrifice, isn't there? So
of course,
yeah.
Sisters of Battle they were my first ever miniatures. Were Sisters of Battle.
Really?
And
nice.
so they kind of remain my first love, really.
Lovely. Yeah, it's great they're getting some love from the models as well, from the design. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I've sort of tried not to buy them, and I don't know why. I've just tried not to. I think
probably because they're little, they're quite intricate. They're I don't mind painting the troops. They're real fun, but I painted an Exorcist and I've got one Immolator done, and I've got one more Immolator to go, and I want one of those. I think it's Castigator, like the Predator.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking forward to doing another Immolator. I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh no, just look at it. It's just such a bit. It's so much on it. They look amazing when they're done, but when you're daunted with the task of I have to paint this thing, it's like, oh,
it's trinkets, it's little fleur-de-lis, it's little beads and stuff like that,
candles and like they've got like on the back of the Immolator, it's like a little carpet leading up to an altar, and it's like, wow, it looks incredible, but painting it is a bit of a pain at times.
Oh, I don't doubt that for a second. So in terms of, obviously we've discussed painting, so about other hobby plans. So I'm assuming there's going to be a lot more videos being filmed, especially as I know you've been in the the support bubble as such, but so my dog's sleeping just here, so she's been very good so far.
He's just having a slow plod. He's definitely tired. He's having a slow plod in and out of the room.
But what have you got your eyes on starting anything new or moving into any game systems, anything like that?
So starting something new, I've done a test model for a Solar Watch Custodian.
Okay.
And I've got, thanks to Liam, he had a bunch of Custodies he didn't want, and he just said, here you go. I was like, great. And they're just in boxes. They're not built or anything. I was like, oh, thank you. It's very kind of him. Really nice gesture. But they're now sat in the pile of opportunity in the cabinet over there.
Pile of opportunity.
It was a pile of shame, but since I've built the new cabinet, I feel more like, it's somewhere neat and tidy, so I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, it's in there, and I do want to get them started at some point. So for as far as new army go, Custodies, and Winters has greenlit a Hobbypocalypse Series 2 next year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking of going Drukhari. Just complete left field for me, like something completely different, because I like their models and I like the color they're in and stuff. Whether they're good or not doesn't really bother me. It's cool that they are, but they've been a year's time, they probably won't be anywhere near as good.
No, but
that doesn't bother me.
Stuff,
give it a year and it doesn't matter, because I'm planning to do it in a year. I'm not too bothered about the current power of them. But I just like the idea of going completely left field, because I've got all Imperium and Tau. So I want to go like Drukhari, aside from Chaos, are the worst bad guys in the game. So I want to have a go with them in the future. But as far as other game systems, I know Deployment Zone at some point, I don't know how far in the future, wants to branch into AOS.
Yep.
And I've got a box of Cursed City to do. And you get the Vampire Courts kind of army in there. There's all the Soul Flayers, what they're calling them. Or Soul Blight, something. There's lots of random words they stick together. But I like the vampires and stuff. They're pretty cool. So it'd be cool to have like a death army in AOS at some point in the future, if and when Deployment Zone branches into it, because I know Winters is keen to, but it's an entirely new game system and he only has limited time, as well as having like 10 or 11 armies he's already got and waiting for Necrons to turn up. He's like, I've got to learn so many armies, let alone another game. But I'd love to do that. And also I love the dwarves, Caradron Overlords. They're really cool.
I'm not an AOS player. No one I know plays Age of Sigmar, which
same.
But they would be certainly probably the first thing I would turn to would be the dwarves, because I just look at them. I love them. I remember seeing them early on at the Warhammer World exhibit, and they've got just like that looks absolutely incredible.
They're so cool. I've nicked one of their floaty ships for my AbMech. So instead of having one of the, I really like the Leonardo da Vinci looking flappy thing. But I've gone for one of the floating boats instead to represent one of the I think it's one of the transports or the bomber. I think it was. I did the bomber. I'll still get one of the transvector planva, whatever it's called, later on. But yeah, and I've also been looking at again far future, just like very basic nugget of an idea. Freebooters, orcs.
Yeah.
And using the Caradron Overlord's boats to make a freebooters army, like a space pirates. So I think that's a cool idea. So yeah, little nuggets of ideas, but what's actually achievable is probably Custodes at some point.
Yeah, I came up with a weird concept a couple of weeks ago, and I turned to my other half and I just kind of looked at her and I said, right, so I got this mad idea. And she was like, all right. I said, I already know what I want for you from you for Christmas. And she was like, bloody, at the time she was like, it's April. What are you on about? And I put it out to like the other guys in the group, and they were like, there's a couple of them going, I might do the same. So essentially, aside from obviously the armies that like my closest game group and the guys in Loaded Bolter have, I'm going to give her a list of just armies and or the starter boxes or a couple of bits that come up to a certain amount. And she, with no knowledge of Warhammer, none at all, is going to basically pick. And then on Christmas Day, I will unwrap whatever my next army is.
That is really good. That is an awesome idea.
Like I say, because
I love that.
Obviously, she appreciates what I paint and stuff like that, and she likes looking at them. And I've got like the Batman and the Harry Potter games as well, like the miniature games, and she doesn't mind like obviously seeing that sort of thing. But yeah, so she was like, yeah, I'll do that all day long. So yeah, I'm just going to give her a list, and essentially she'll just buy them from probably the local game shop that we've got here. I'll pre-warn him that she's coming in and just kind of say, right,
help her.
She's not so much help her, but make sure she gets like the stuff that matches the right army, not like a box of sisters and like a box of, I don't know, Admech or something that wouldn't work. But but I would that's kind of what I want. And just on Christmas Day, and then a couple of the other guys were like, cool. That is brilliant. I might do that.
Is brilliant. Yeah.
Then I've got no control. It could be a really good army, or it could be something that's not so good. But
get a box of Gene Stealer cult.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden you're like, right, okay, now I've got to build an army. And straight around Christmas Day, nobody else is going to get a look in because my brain is going a million miles an hour going, right, I'm going to be sat there writing a list. I need to
It's definitely good because especially if you like every army for one thing or another.
Yeah.
Like even I probably wouldn't ever collect Tyranids, but if I got to start collecting boxes of Tyranids, I wouldn't be unhappy because like, oh cool, Gene Stealers and a Broodlord. Let's go. Stuff like that.
And that's what I'm thinking. There's nothing that I'm particularly against. I've had most armies. I think the only armies I've never had now are Orcs and Tyranids. I don't think there's much else I've not had. So I'm literally giving her full control. At the moment, I've only got Grey Knights, Eldar, and obviously a whole Death Guard, Nurgle / Chaos Knights kind of thing. So it's just literally giving her full control with no knowledge of whatsoever.
I really like that because that means she just picks what she likes the look of. Which is ace.
She's literally, I'm going to give her a list of stuff to search basically on the website or whatever, or send her into the local game shop. They've got brilliant stock. Send her into the local game shop and just say, right, Andy, who runs the store, just, she's going to pick something, just help her to pick a couple of bits that go around it. If it's not the start collecting box, but I think that's just going to be an awesome way to kick off a new army without.
I think that's really cool.
There you go. You can have that one for free.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're going to go to your partner later and go, I've got this idea for Christmas.
It's all my idea. I haven't heard it anywhere else, I promise.
I think that's just a cool way to go.
That is amazing.
So the last question that I ask anybody who comes on this is about hobbies away from the hobby. Now I know that you've got obviously a Sultan Plays channel on YouTube where
thank you.
You play obviously various games, but obviously that and what else keeps you going outside of this hobby? I know you're chained in Winter's Dungeon a lot.
So at the moment it's very much a lot of hobby because I do some commission work on the side. So at the moment basically because I work away, I'll work through the daytime and then commission work in the evening every day of the week. And then at the weekend I film for Sultan Plays and with Winters. So very limited time outside of luckily, most of it is 40k hobby. So I'm not saying it's not a bad thing whatsoever, but it means I'm doing quite a bit of hobby at the moment. But aside from that, I have the guitars over there.
I see the little guitar,
I I don't play nearly as much as I should, and I haven't played in quite some time. My girlfriend keeps telling me to play, but it's just, you know, when you're busy, you just lose it. But yeah, I do that. I would consider, it is to do with the hobby, but I would consider photography as part of it, because I you know, I have a light box, and I like doing a lot of sort of video. So I like filming for the hobby, but it's also a hobby in itself. So I filmed a video that's going to be coming out on Deployment Zone, hopefully in a week or two. It's like a little hobby video of me building a specific unit, if you like, from a specific faction. And it's me learning how to use the airbrush and stuff. But I also tried a lot of new video angles and how to use the camera properly and do some cool like smoke effects and things like that. So I'd say that was part of the hobby. So photography and filmography, if you like, is another hobby that's just happens to be attached to our hobby. So that's kind of the main ones at the moment, but they're all as a product of this.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah, no. And that's, like I said, this, I think for most people who get into this hobby, it becomes the main hobby, because there's so many elements to it. I mean, if you're into all elements of it, the building, the painting, the playing, most of your time's just gone, isn't it? But some people only like to build, some people don't even like to build or paint, they just like to play. So it depends how involved you are. But then also there's some people who use their other downtime to read books or listen to the audio books and stuff like that. So, you know, it's a probably one of the most involved hobbies out
Definitely there. I mean, by the time I work all day till like 5:30, and then go back, feed the dog, grab myself some food, go to the gym. By the time you get back from the gym, it's like 7 or 8. And then it's like, right, I've got to do a bit of commission work. And that's like an hour, 2 hours, if you can fit that in. And then you realize, oh, I haven't had time to, I don't know, read a book or do anything else. But yeah, where I can, I do read a lot. And again, it's all related to the hobby. I read a lot of 40K. I like all the Black Library stuff because it's really useful. Again, going back to the filming thing, it's really useful to have that lore information in your head. So it's almost like doing your homework, but it's just really enjoyable homework. So when I come on the channel, and Winter says, okay, what units have you brought with the Blood Angels today, for example? I can say, right, these units, blah, 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 blah. And fun thing about this unit is in the lore, it does this, and so on. So it just adds a bit more flavor to what we're filming. Yeah,
and I think that's always kind of fun, isn't it? The whole point of it is to immerse yourself in something. It's great for the brain. So, you know, it's all good stuff. Well, that's all the questions I've got for you, my man. I appreciate you coming on and getting a mediocre time of 1:27, but a very respectable 1:27.
Mediocre's fine. I can live there. That's fine. I'm mediocre's about where I sit. So
I fully will happily sit there and say I'm distinctly average in just about everything that I do. I think you called it aggressively average, but
aggressively average. Yeah,
I like to be distinctly average. That's what I say whenever my boss goes, "How are you today?" Oh, I'm distinctly average. He never really knows how to take it. But that's the way that I see it. So all that's left for me to do is to thank you for coming on and sitting down with us.
No problem whatsoever. It was great fun.
And obviously, we release every week on a Friday, and Sultan is releasing shit every day, but seems if it was part of Deployment Zone. Or definitely go over and check out the YouTube channel. I watched a few videos this morning, didn't know that existed. So
thank you. Yeah, it's just Winter's being Larry. That's what most of it is. We're just playing a lot of Warzone.
So it's absolutely good stuff. So thanks very much, my man.
Thank you. Yeah, really appreciate it.
Cheers.